Today, we are very happy to be joined by Larry Scott, who established one of Long Island's most successful restaurants, Larry and the Redhead, and in the same year set his name as one of the best and most successful party planners in the world under his company, Lawrence Scott Events, earning his parties such a high praise that they are known as a Larry Party due to their exuberant and extravagant design. He has worked with clients such as Donald Trump, Howard Stern, and John Varvatos, among many more. Mr. Scott and his team are committed to giving back to the community and support many charitable causes, such as Make-A-Wish, Live Out Loud, among many other organizations. Larry, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right, so to start off, I guess, we mentioned some high-profile clients. How do their events differ from other events? What's it like working with them?
Everybody really wants to work with all the celebrities, and sometimes it's not as glamorous as they think it is. You know what I'm saying? It's nice to have on your roster, like one of my biggest clients as far as celebrities is Judge Judy, who actually is a dear friend of mine after 23 years. She happens to be exceptional. And then some of them get caught up in themselves. They don't even realize that there's guests in the room when you make a party. You know what I'm saying? So I think sometimes they have to let go, and there's a group of them that let go of the celebrity status to make sure that they acknowledge that there's other people in the room. You know what I'm saying? And it's not the show, and you see a human side of them. So that's really an experience, and there's a group of them. You know what I'm saying? Not all. You know what? Somebody said to me years ago, and some of the younger celebrities who haven't experienced that much of the limelight, they actually believe what they read about themselves in the paper. And, at the end of the day, as you become weathered in the industry, you know what I'm saying, and fame, it's either you go down south where it's like not happening for you, or you embrace it and realize that we're all in it together. So, it makes an interesting mix. But I personally love dealing with my everyday clients that are very loyal to me, and families like maybe such as yourself that like really, they use me for all their milestones. So loyalty to me is everything.
So you have a big team over at Lawrence Scott Events, and obviously you're not the only person that makes the party happen. So can you tell us the people besides yourself that make the party happen?
Absolutely. I'm no good without my staff, but I am. In any successful business, there's one person that maybe has that vision and has to draw out the strengths, not the weaknesses in their other part of the team. In other words, it's my vision telling a story, but like I have Steve, I have Bobby, I have Brandt, I have Meyer, I have Augusto, I have different types of people in my company. I don't prey on their weakness and try to make them be something they're not. I take the strengths out of them, and you know what? It's like putting together a pizza. So we have 32 pieces in the pie, and they're all part of that pie. I just may be the box that holds them. There's another way I look at it. I may be the chandelier, and they're all my bulbs, and then I'm the dimmer switch to bring them brighter or dimmer as need be through the event.
Yeah, so you were talking about loyalty and how important that is with your clients. Is that at all similar with your staff? Is longevity important as well?
Listen, you want to know something? My staff has been with me a long time. Not that they haven't quit, over the years. In other words, when they were younger, because, sometimes people think there's somebody better out there. The same with clients. Sometimes they think, oh, there's somebody better. But you know what? As you mature, both in business and as a client, you realize sometimes, the best is right there. You don't need to go further. You know what I'm saying? And there's only so far. I think with my company, because I'm so challenging myself constantly, any successful business owner has insecurities, and they're constantly challenging themselves. And what that does is challenge the people that work for you. So what it does is inspires them because you're constantly changing. You never settle. In other words, you're not inventing the wheel. You're just driving it differently every year.
And something that, we've talked about before in your intro is that your party is a Larry party. It's very exuberant, it's very fun. what makes a Larry party different from other parties? And could you give us some examples of those Larry
Yeah,
parties?
it's a storyteller. Most people, when you go out, let's say in my industry, you're hiring, oh, did you hire this florist? Did you hire that band, that DJ, that photographer? And all you're hiring is names. But you know what? And all they're doing is selling you their product and extras. It becomes a business about money. Something has to die for something else to come forward. I always say how we get from A to Z doesn't matter. You have to get there. And mine is about storytelling. So the Larry party is like, you know what? People love hors d'oeuvres and desserts. They can give a shit about the dinner, but yet they want to dance and party and sit down for the dinner where we stop, smell the coffee, make speeches at that point, and why are we all here? So it's the storytelling part of it.
Yeah, and to that, your parties have a lot of like a lot of things you have to bring in that are, I can imagine, challenging. Like, how do you bring everything into a party, like the giant sculptures, the bars, the dishes?
I think that comes with years of making mistakes and you have to fail to succeed. So 31 years into the business on my own, it's like I learned to, whatever I don't do great, I don't claim to know I do great. So I'll hire the best prop house and they'll work along with me. And you always have to bring more than less. And most people are always about the money. It should never be about money. You always have to spend money to make it. So if you hold back because you're looking to make $3 more, you're going to fail. What you have to do is bring out, if you're only bringing 5 items out, you have to bring maybe 10 because you know what? You only have 5 hours to make that party happen and you don't have time to return it. It's not like a house where you're doing a room and it's like, oh, it's not in this week, so we'll come back next week. You have 5 hours, so more is better when it comes to bringing things out. So I think it's about experiences and going down certain roads and failing to know what not to do. To make those mistakes as you get older, as you gain your brand. I lost Jack on the bottom.
Oh, I'm here. Just some
Jack,
technical issues with the camera.
Jack, what happened, buddy? You just like tuned me out?
No, my camera. There was some issues with my camera, but we're all good
You
now.
didn't have to answer me. I'm kidding. Good. I had 2 of you, and then all of a sudden there was 1.
So you were speaking of all the items that you would bring into a party and what it takes to get those there. Is there anything that you wouldn't have in a party that maybe a client has requested in the past?
I think, again, every story is different. So in other words, if I was doing, let's say, a coming of age party, whether it was 13 years old or a 16-year-old, like a coming of age, whatever it is, sometimes I think when they try to bring these celebrities or whatever, I think it sort of is not the right time. If there's too much too soon in life, I think you're sending a bad message out. I say it's not, and sometimes I think you have to be conscious. You don't have to apologize for having maybe more than somebody else, because I always find that there's somebody better looking and somebody richer. It's not about that. I think it's about staying a little humble. And sometimes to just like, look, we're all competitive in certain ways, whether it's through sports, whether it's through lifestyle, whatever it is, we're competitive. I think it's like, when is it enough? So like sometimes I don't know if I love the celebrity factor, although if it's a kid, let's say a boy who's turning 16 or 18, you could do a whole basketball thing that's nondescript where everybody can embrace it at the same time, opposed to bringing the weekend in and it becomes about the weekend and not the 18-year-old. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's the fine line between like screwing up and not screwing up.
Yeah, so also just another thing, kind of in your parties, is the massive desserts. That's something that everyone always remembers and is categorical of the party after, like you're mentioning it. It always leaves a lasting legacy. I know that's definitely true for my party, at least. Everyone always remembers mine just because of the amazing dessert.
I'm all about desserts. I'm all about vision. I'm all about oversized people first eating with their eyes, and I like the ridiculous with the sublime, and not everything should be so serious because it could be everything from a great funky donut to a great Twinkie on a stick. In other words, again, it's not inventing the wheel. It's just driving it differently. So it's old is new again. So there could be some fancy stuff, but there has to be some old nostalgic stuff because, again, history repeats itself. And then I love ending with some junk food. Never yet, like 20-something years ago, we started with White Castles. Then it was into Shake Shacks. Then we did bacon, egg, and cheese, tater tots. In other words, people like not just with desserts, they like the junk food end of it because you know what? They may have not danced. I mean, they may have not eaten dinner and they were dancing all night. So I think today there are no rules and you can do whatever you want as long as it's done classy and not trashy.
And you mentioned some of the businesses that you would get those food items from. I mean, I know you have some experience in catering and also you ran your restaurant, Larry and the Redhead. So did any experience from that, from either of those jobs in catering and as head of Larry and the Redhead, has that helped you in Lawrence Scott events as sort of like in the food realm, I guess?
Absolutely. I started out in food before I went into design. And the reason why it helped me, Larry and the Redhead, is like you have an audience that comes in every night and you could try out certain specials and whatnot. And you could see by the masses whether they like it or not. And now if let's say it was your son, like Jack, let's say it was your wedding or Ethan. I don't know if I would experiment on your wedding. Let's try this new item out. Because then, you know what, like you're spending too much money. You're only going to get married hopefully once in a lifetime. Those are not the time to experiment on things. You know what I'm saying? So when you have a restaurant, I think, you know what, you have a base, you have your menu. You could do a special and you'll know if it sells or doesn't sell and what the response is from the people. So yeah, like in other words, it's all intertwined.
Mm-hmm. And what would an example of a food item that you would experiment with be?
Again, timing is everything. There are, like, say, 5 food groups. You have a veal, you got a beef, you got a chicken, you got a fish. What did I say? A veal, beef, chicken, fish, steak, let's say. Like, in other words, so how do I make it different? Sometimes, like, people try too hard. Like years ago, it was like, oh my God, let's try this. So, Lawrence Scott Events did the, hamburgers at the end. So let's do a hamburger as a main course. Nobody needs a main course as a hamburger. But you could do like a chicken Milanese, like a breaded chicken cutlet with the French, like the breastbone in, which is a restaurant item, but yet they'll eat it because there's a way to make it glamorous. You know what I'm saying? So, and again, through time of life, time of season, being that we're on the East Coast and we have a winter, you could do like more. And I bring the restaurant into the food end. If I'm serving one course, I could do prime Italian from Miami in New York, where there's 2 giant meatballs on the side, on one on each side of the table with ricotta cheese as a side dish, along with the chicken Milanese. You know what I'm saying? So there's extra food on the table. And they're sitting down for one course. I think it's how you look at the trend and what people are. And I learned a long time ago, don't educate people, give them what they want. You have to give people what they're looking for. Not everybody wants a hamburger for dinner, but they will have a chicken Milanese, which is a salad on top of it and it's breaded, and then the meatball and something else on request. But does that make sense to you guys? I'm sorry. I'm much older than you, so I don't know if you're understanding this.
No, it's making me hungry just thinking about it.
Me too.
Yes, so to that, these are obviously, people, you tend to, I feel like, think outside the box a little bit, you think bigger than most people. Has that creativity always been there? Like, where does that come from?
You know what? It's an insecure side of me. I think it comes, without sounding crazy, it comes from God. It's about, I think everybody's born with a talent. Everybody has their gift. It's a matter of embracing your gift. Like, look, I could sit there and look at TV and say, oh my God, I want to be a singer. I want to be Bon Jovi. But guess what? I don't have a fucking voice. So in other words, so why would I try? I think most people have to embrace what their gift is, and they don't know what their gift is because they're buying somebody else's gift. You know what I'm saying? We're born equal, but we're not all born with the same gift.
And at Lawrence Scott Events, you sort of describe philanthropy as a cornerstone of the business. Why is philanthropy so important to you guys there?
Because you know what? If God gives you the talent to be able to do certain things, it's not all for you. You must I was raised this way. There is not, if you make $1, you got to give back, 20% of it. Whatever it is, it's not all for you. Philanthropy is showing your community, being part of your community. Like here, like when I moved out to the Hamptons and built a house out there, I couldn't do work out there unless I bought the house because I couldn't take their money and send it someplace else. I think you need philanthropy is part of a community also. And I also find, whether it's for the police department, whether it's for fire department, whether it's for nursing, for hospital, for a charity, for whatever it is, then there are people that only get involved with a charity when like they're afflicted with some sort of somebody in their family gets sick or whatever. You should know that from the beginning. It's part of brushing your teeth in my eyes. And I try to teach my company that because I think it keeps you grounded and humble. It's not all for you. You understand? And by you being gifted enough to do it, whether even if you made just $1, I think it makes you feel better. I find most people feel better when they're giving. And if they don't, there's a disconnect. And I don't have that in my DNA. And that's for them to decide on their own. But me, I was raised differently. And I try to teach the guys in my company and the girls in my company that it's, we do a lot of charity work. We can't solve all the problems of the world, but we're going to try to help solve some.
Yeah, so you were mentioning time you're always trying to challenge yourself. Do you ever get like very stressed in your job, and how do you cope with that?
Okay, Ethan, let me tell you, stressed. I wear 5 pairs of Depends a day. I get stressed over a dinner party for 2 people. If you rest on your laurels and you're not scared, then you're a fuck up. You'll never make it. In business, when you take on a responsibility of somebody's life, in other words, like whether it's not just in sickness, it's in a party, they wait their whole lives to make a wedding. I am nervous that my worst fear is to disappoint a client. So once I feel good about it, you know what I'm saying? And that's the gift that I have. I put enough pressure on myself that when I feel good, you know what I'm saying? The client will love it, but they need to hear it from everybody. It's almost like the style section of the New York Times. When they say it's okay, that's when they feel good. I know when it's good. I put enough pressure on myself every day. I don't sleep. To be a leader is leading in the world is tough. You don't know if you go down Park Avenue if it's the right block, or maybe you should have went down 3rd Avenue. So we pace our houses. We constantly can't stop thinking. And that's where the support system of your office comes in. And the biggest thing I say to them, you can't stay here if you're in my head. You can't get in my head. I'm not there. You have to keep your head clear, and they need to be your support system. Right, wrong, or indifferent, like a parent. Your parents, you may not like a decision. Like they said, you know what, I don't want you going out here or this or that. But right, wrong, or indifferent, they're your parents, and you got to respect it.
And as you speak of your stress for those big milestone events, obviously something that can come out of that is just a great event in itself, even though you're stressing. So what does that feel like when you create such a fantastic party or event for someone when they have?
That's my thing. The glamour for me is I don't stay at the parties. I don't need to walk to a party and say, oh my God, look what I did. Those are bullshit people. My glamour is like really challenging and being challenged by my client, producing this thing, handing them the baton, and that they get to walk through proud that I told their story. And you know what? And I don't need to walk through because I'm taking their thunder away. It's not my party. That's the Larry party also. In other words, the Larry party is that I told your story and I get to walk away. So I get nervous till the time I go to walk away and know that my host and hostess are beyond happy with what I put out for them.
So, kind of to change gears a little bit, how has your business been affected since the coronavirus?
It's I think I look at it 2 ways. The negative side of it is that, you know what, our industry was killed. Like we're down. You know what I'm saying? We're not really working. But the positive side is maybe God needed me to slow down a little bit, stop, refresh, have a different appreciation, rethink really where I want to go moving forward, and maybe helping out people on a smaller level on how to put these out. And I forgot how humbling it is to work on these smaller jobs and a lot of people I've helped with like these engagements, like people getting engaged and how they can be creative because like people are afraid to go and they can't get married or whatever, or they can. So to me, it's like a very humbling experience. So I always look at the glass full and not empty. So in the beginning, it was a roller coaster and still is, but we'll come out of it because I think in life, if you're diversified and not everything is invested in one thing, you'll make it through. The hard part is making your staff understand that, you know what, it's one family. So, you know what, it's not just about you. We have to make sure that the money spreads out for the whole year. So you may have to sacrifice part of your life the same that I did. You know, they may look at me and say, oh, look what you have. Well, everything is relative. I may have bigger bills than you. You know what I mean? But we're all in it together and we will come out of this. So everybody, I don't care who you are, was affected by this pandemic, whether it was through business, through emotionally, through friends, through social life, whatever it is. But you know what? You just have to stay together and try to stay focused and positive. That's it.
Are there ways that you can plan socially distanced or socially responsible events?
Yes, we just did one at my home and I practiced. We're able to have 50 people. 2 weeks ago, I had a party at my house in Watermill, and I call it a party because it was a social distancing party. And there was 2 reasons to do it. Number one, being a leader, you have to show how you can do it because it's not, life is not over. And you just, you know, it's an obstacle. You know, picture like, you know, if somebody who was in the military and had 2 legs and now has 1, his life isn't over. So there's a prosthetic. You know what I'm saying? So you can't sit home and feel sorry for yourself. And that's how I look at this thing. We're so much more gifted. We're talking about fucking parties. Like, give me a break. I mean, there are kids that didn't get to graduate with their kids. They didn't get to go to their senior prom. That's a problem. You know what I'm saying? Like, in other words, those kids missed out on milestones in their life that they worked really hard on. So for me, I did this party in my backyard, able to have 50. I chose to have half the amount. And I showed different groups of people how you can go out, social distance, and how my staff was able to do it because we have a lot of these weddings that are 25, 30 people that life doesn't have to stop. And again, no rules. So maybe in a year or 2, they'll have the anniversary and they'll have that big wedding anniversary party but they shouldn't rush through a wedding like now and say it doesn't mean anything because we've had a few clients that just say, oh, we just want to get married and that's it. But you could make it special too. I mean, this is like not necessarily a 9/11, but it's a pandemic that really affected the world. So, you know, why push this under the carpet? We have to remember this time. And to me, it's a good time that we're going to remember out of this, not just a bad time.
So what did that party in Watermill look like?
I have pictures. There's actually an article coming out in a magazine in a few weeks. There's 2 pages on it. There were 24 people. There were 6 tables. The tables were 54-inch rounds, which were 4 feet across. They had 2 couples sitting at each table, which led another foot on each side. So that was the 6 foot apart. So people sat across from each other, but only 2 couples. There was a 5-foot peacock in the middle of the table, that's social distance. I'm used to doing massive foods and buffets. This one, every course was served under a dome. Nobody shared any food. So it was all about like not sharing, but yet making the Larry brand the oversizedness. And people walked away, whether it was Rosanna Scott or Chris Raggi, you know, from celebrities to not celebrities, and they all said, wow, I haven't been out, and you made me feel so comfortable that I wasn't afraid to be at a table with another couple, knowing that the distance was there. And that they walked away and said, you know what, we can go out, have dinner, and you know what, and not be stupid about it. I think, you know what, as we're adults, you know what, you have to just be responsible. If you don't feel good, don't go out. If you're going to cough, walk away from the table. I find it every day. I'm a germaphobe. Like, don't blow your nose at a table. I think it's rude. Sorry. Jack, I know this is the first time you're meeting me. I hope you don't think I'm nuts.
Oh, no. It's great content. I love it.
Yeah, that actually goes kind of to one of my other questions. You know, for lack of a better word, you always seem to be on. You're always like focused, always high energy, and very positive. Like, how are you always like that? Do you always maintain that? Are you always that
No,
way?
I'm not. Listen to me. I say to my guys all the time, I'm not embalming bodies. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not in the funeral business. We're here for celebrations. So I don't want to hear your problems. Guests don't want to hear your problems. My downtime and my highs are high, my lows are low. You're not there to witness the low. I remember, and I'm not a fan, but Dolly Parton used to say when she would go out, she would never leave without makeup and all her stuff because that's how her fans wanted to see her. No one's calling me on the phone to hear my drama. My drama is for my inner circle, for my people to get me through it. You know what I'm saying? It's not for my clients to see that side. They're not calling. When they say, how are you or whatever, some of them are, I think, interested and they care. But you know what? To sit there, I mean, just picture somebody complaining every day, like, oh my God, my tooth hurts, my this. Like, I want to run the other way. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be positive. And when I'm not positive, I don't pick up the phone. Never let them see you sweat.
So just yesterday on Monday, New York State went into phase 4 of reopening. And as the world continues to reopen and we return to a new normal, what does the future look like for Lawrence Scott Events?
I don't think it's a new normal for the event business until there's some sort of remedy. I don't know if there's a vaccine. I'm not a doctor. And I can only say within my own gut. In other words, like I would think that within a year, like in other words, I said this thing would last a year. So I think by February, March, we're coming out of this. And the reason why I say that is because there's no way business can continue, whether it's through sports, whether it's like amusement parks or whatever. You know, too many people will be out of work. And I think the other side of the coin is that people will become alcoholics and drug addicts and depression, all that kind of stuff. Human beings are meant to touch and hold and kiss and dance together. Do you know what I'm saying? They're not meant to mask up and wear hazard suits and just be cold. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, that you can get away with for so much time. After that, I'm telling you, it's not going to fly. You know what I'm saying? It's just not. We're not those kind of people. Sorry, somebody walked in and thought it was into a Bobby.
No, I mean, I think we can end after this. I think this is great. This has been great.
Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it.
Yeah,
My
really appreciate
pleasure.
you.
My pleasure.
Very
So,
inspired.
where does this go to? Can I ask you that question?
Yes, Spotify, YouTube.
Well, it was a pleasure talking to the both of you. Jack, I never did your party, did I?
No, but hey, maybe in the future. Who knows?
Never know. I'll get your wedding, buddy, okay?
Oh, okay. I'll keep you
Tell
in
your
mind.
family hello. Thank you so much, all right?
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Take
Jack.
care.